Don was my uncle. He,
Uncle Don was my
in case I didn't confused.
Thanks for the clarification.
Uncle Don to me was always just a stand-up guy. He's a guy that Mom could count on. That meant a lot to me. That's what I remember. Yeah. He'll be missed. All right, loudmouth, you're up.
I said, damn word up till now.
Tagging me in.
I'm Don Tabor.
The ugly one.
Uncle Don was my uncle. That was your best line. And I didn't realize what Uncle Don was to the family until I got older. I got grown up, and I was kind of a selfish prick when I was a kid, as you guys all know. I try to do better now. Probably don't, but I try. I remember Uncle Don came up one year, and it wasn't to go fishing, it wasn't to visit Aunt Peggy or Uncle Earl or Uncle Carl or anything. But he was up there and he was painting on Mom and Grandma's house. And John and Tom, the boys, had moved out. I think Diddy had already moved out, maybe. Even Linda had moved out. And it didn't occur to me that he could use some help until later on.
How old were you? 15?
Yeah, probably 15, 16 years old, something like that. You know, it was all about me, me, me. And then later on, it's like, wow. And I learned a lesson from that later on in life, which my kids probably really hated. But what I did was I tried to drill it into their heads that if one of the adults or one of the elders, one of the older folks is doing something that you could do, you get up and you do it. Mom don't carry the groceries in. Aunt Linda doesn't carry the groceries in. Aunt Linda doesn't pack the hay bales. You get out there and you help her. And I wasn't that guy growing up. But, you know, I learned that from Uncle Don. He used to take us fishing. He used to take us camping. He did so much stuff that was under the radar that when you're a kid, you don't realize. I got no idea how many times she gave money to Mom and Grandma to keep us going. I got no idea. But I'm betting it was probably hundreds of times, I'm guessing. Because, I mean, we were, you had the poor kids, you had the welfare kids, and we were down a little bit lower than that on the economic deal, you know. But, you know, and I think Uncle Don and Aunt Jewel was part of the reason why we all ended up doing kind of sort of okay. Only two of us ended up in prison. Me and John. Tom, no, Tom did too. Sam. We did have the keys. Yeah, and there's only one of us in prison still. And a radio. And with any luck, I'll get to retire one day. Anyway, I was named after Uncle Don. I went in the Navy because of Uncle Don. And
I just thought you couldn't pass that Army aspect.
You heard that joke 20 minutes ago and you turned it on me? Touche. Good job. Anyway, you missed.
Yep, good man.
Can I help you miss?
I was just gonna help an old man to his seat.
After that speech?
I'm Sam, and
Sam who?
Uncle Don. We keep saying Uncle Don was our uncle, but Uncle Don wasn't our uncle. But to us, he was. Aunt Jewel was our aunt, his wife. But to us, if anybody told us Uncle Don, though he was our uncle by marriage, if anybody told us he wasn't our uncle, you better be ready to fight. Because we didn't have any uncles, none of us. The Tabor boys, the Wheeler boys. And I come with my brother's proxy. They couldn't be here today, and their apologies to everybody in the family, especially to the Mays. But to us, Uncle Don was our uncle, and nobody nobody could tell us that he wasn't. And all of us could stand up here and talk about what a special guy that he was. But we'd be up here all day. A little bit about what Don just said and what an inspirational guy that Uncle Don was. He was, to my knowledge, to John and Dawn and Lillian's, you know, Linda's generation, he was the only male role model, adult male role model figure that we had. And to my generation, my brother's generation, the only male role model we had in the family to look up to.
You ain't that young, son.
And I tried. And how many of us ended up joining the military? You know, Kenny joined the military. John joined the military. Don joined the military.
Jimmy?
I joined. Jimmy
Yeah.
joined. My brother Brian joined the military, and he was the only male role model that we had, and he inspired all of us to, you know, to try that route, you know, because all of us wanted to be like him. And it wasn't until later in my life, and because he didn't want accolades for the kind of guy he was, it's just the sort of person he was. He wasn't about himself, he was about us, our family, his family. It wasn't until just a few years ago that I found out, as a matter of fact, before my mom passed, that when we were growing up, and we were, like Don said, dirt poor, all of us, that when we could have Christmases, or we weren't gonna make a rent payment, or we weren't gonna get a bicycle when the other kids had them, he made sure that we got them. He made sure we got Christmases. And he made sure that there was always food on the table. And like Grandma's house, when, you know, the welfare folks said that the house wasn't nice enough or whatever, Uncle Don
She
made
threw
sure
them
the
out.
house got painted.
Well, after Grandma got done whooping him with a broom,
Uncle Don came by with a spray painter that he bought just to paint her house, and he broke out the Wagner power painter and he painted the whole house. And that was how he spent his vacation time that year. That's the kind of man that he was, and that's the man I'm gonna remember, and that's the man that's the hero that I'm gonna always look up to for the rest of my life. And that's the kind of guy that, in my military career, like this guy and that guy, I always tried to emulate him. And I hope I did at some point. And because of him, I earned those senior wings.